Oh, I'm turned off.
I'm not turned off yet. I've only just arrived in Romford.
So, let me just, if you don't mind me asking, how did your journey into film take place?
What, going way back?
Way back.
Well, I've always wanted to be in the glittering world of show business, and I've been in it since almost the day I left school. And the longer you stay in it, the more people you meet. One thing led to another, and I found myself writing screenplays.
And bearing in mind that this is a few years ago, how difficult was it to get into that line back then?
In those days, it was terribly easy, and it's much harder for young people today. It's not possible to do what I used to do, which is just hang around Soho in London and meet people in cafes. I remember going to the film cafe in Wardour Street, where everybody went, and when you could always see contracts being signed on the tables, it was just inevitable that sooner or later I was going to meet somebody important, and that was an actor called Michael Billington, who said to his friend Ray Self, "Oh, I know somebody who can write your next film." And the years fell away, and now I'm here in Romford talking to you.
Yeah, sorry, we'll try and organise a glitzier location for round 2.
No, this will do fine. I'm quite happy in Romford.
So, you started off working in sort of sex comedies, didn't you? In terms of script writing, am I right? Sex comedies into horror?
My first film was a sex comedy, I can't deny it, yes. It still turns up on Talking Pictures, and I don't watch it, I'm afraid, but the next film I wrote was House of Whipcord for Pete Walker, and that's the only one of my films that I'm still happy to watch. I think they did a lovely job of it, and it was enormously exciting to work on, because I was only in my early 20s then.
Mm. And then you've gone into almost like a different world from my perspective. How did you come to meet with Julian Clary?
Well, I gave him his first job, so when my film career wound down at the end of the 70s, I formed my own theatre company, and we toured the UK for the whole of the 80s virtually. And in 1982, Julian Clary was starting off on London's cabaret circuit, and he was in one of my plays, and we've been working together ever since. So I think that is 41 years.
Wow.
And only yesterday we started rehearsals for his next tour, A Fistful of Clary, and that goes out on the road in April. And you may have noticed that Julian's in Trouser Bar as well. I love the idea that, I can't remember where, I think it was on Amazon, somebody reviewed Trouser Bar and said they've even got lookalikes for Julian Clary and Barry Cryer. I said, they're the real thing. They cost me a fortune.
I mean, that is a fascinating thing, watching it, all those little cameos that occur, Nigel Havers, etc. The film Trouser Bar, which we've just seen, how long did so you wrote the screenplay for it?
Well, kind of.
And then I'm sorry if I'm wrong on this as well, but did you crowdfunded for the money in probably before crowdfunding was the thing, was it?
No, I wasn't given a penny. I paid for it all myself.
Okay.
I've always paid for everything myself, and I've never made a penny back.
Oh, this is unfortunate. So you've looked at this world from different generations in terms of filmmaking. How different when you came, because I believe this was 2017, have I got that right?
Trouser Bar,
yes.
We shot it in 2015, yes, it opened the following year.
Okay, and how different did you find the experience from then to way back when, you know, in terms of that, you know, because things move, if you're financing a film, they're going to move a lot faster now than potentially it would have back then, would you say?
Well, I got a great experience in the film business because Pete Walker worked very fast and on very little money, and I used to go down on the set and watch him, and I think he was one of my great inspirations. And whenever I subsequently made films, and I made quite a few horror shorts, I would say to everyone, we're going to do this like Pete Walker, okay, so just start, get on with it, let's get it over with. It was all done very, very quickly. And Trouser Bar, likewise, we shot it all in a week.
Well, that's some achievement, isn't it?
So it's much the same as when I first started, yes.
Moving forward, so you've been, you know, as I say, without sounding rude, you've been around a little while. The environment for queer film, for want of a better term, how have you seen the adaptation through time in terms of society and in terms of filmmaking? Where are we? Where should we be?
Well, I've been through virtually every era since I was born, and of course when I was growing up, homosexuality was illegal. I always say I've never come out because I didn't make a thing of it. I think that is something that has changed distinctively. Now, it seems to me that people have to make this statement, and I never did. I just sort of assumed that everyone knew I was gay, and I just drifted into this world. Now, that is impossible now. That wouldn't be done. As far as filmmaking was concerned, come on, how long have we got? When I was growing up, there were absolutely there was nobody to identify with on screen. There were only camp men that I didn't want to be associated with. And early on, I thought, oh no, I'm not like that, so I can't be gay, although that term wasn't even in use. I'm that old. Things have moved on enormously in, I would say, this century. It's just so easy now to go out with almost literally no money and make a gay film. Now, that was not possible when I was young. Now, probably, although I've just arrived, you've been showing shorts in this very film festival that probably cost, what, next to nothing?
Yes.
I envy people who are able to go out and do that now. In the old days, celluloid was very expensive, and a short I made in 1980 cost relatively a lot of money, because there was no way round buying the celluloid, getting it processed. This all cost a lot of money. Thousands of pounds, and now that's not the case. So that's the main thing that's changed.
And where do you think we should be? Do you think things are moving in the right direction? Do you think there's I was speaking to someone outside earlier on, and I do kind of feel that there is a lot of tokenism in the current climate in terms of, how things are funded, etc. It feels like people are throwing money at communities because they see it as being the right thing to do, as opposed to necessarily, embracing the community. It's almost like
nobody's ever thrown money at me.
But there does seem to be like a tick box exercise that is currently happening.
So we're going through a box ticking era, and it's inevitable because so much is changing so fast. Everyone wants to appear to be doing the right thing. My feeling is that everything will settle down. We're going through a period of adjustment where people want to be seen to be doing the right thing. Now, I think within our lifetime that will change. I'm not psychic, so I can't tell how it's going to go in the future.
Yeah. Okay, have we got any questions out there for David?
I have a question over here. I have the mic already. I wanted to ask, because you kind of said you like the word gay, and then you're like, but it wasn't that gay in those terms. I wanted to ask how you feel about the word queer, because nowadays it's now becoming, standard. We could call this a queer film festival. Does that spark any feelings as someone who may have had that word being something very negative?
It's a big issue for somebody of my generation, and I've had this conversation with a lot of mostly men of my age. So when I was at school, I was called a lanky queer, and I really didn't like that. It was, I'm sure you know, it was a term of abuse, and I couldn't get over that at all. And so somebody else here will be able to tell me when queer was reclaimed, but that was another very interesting period of adjustment, because a lot of men of my age, women weren't queer, of course, only men were. A lot of men of my age did not like being called or thought of as queer, because it was, as I say, a term of abuse, and it's taken us a while to get used to it. I think I now am used to it. I accept the fact that queer is something to be proud of, and something all-encompassing as well. And of course, queer wasn't when I was young. So it's been a lot to take in, but I think I've now, I've come to terms with it. I'm very happy to be at a queer festival.
Have we got any other questions? Oh, there's a hand right at the back, Carrie.
I can see that.
So, before I ask my question, I want to say it's quite funny, because my grandma used to use the word queer for if she was feeling ill. So she'd be like, I'm feeling a bit queer today, which she's no off. But it's interesting, like, as a gay man myself, like, as you say about, obviously, when you were growing up, it was illegal. Obviously, I can't imagine what that's like. I'm lucky to be from an accepting family where, you know, they accept me. My friends, obviously, who I choose to socialise with, accept me. So what was it, especially because you said you didn't have to come out, so maybe, you assumed people presumed you were gay. What was it like growing up in that environment where you seem to have maybe been comfortable with yourself, but knowing it's quite a dangerous predicament to also be in?
So, again, if you talk to now people of my age, you will find that a lot of men regret the fact that homosexuality is no longer illegal. It sounds extraordinary, but I was really too young. I mean, I wasn't having sex when I was 18. I was a late developer, but a lot of men who were older than me were doing things furtively, and they had been for decades, especially during the war in the blackout, and they had such fun. You can read so many memoirs, including, obviously, Quentin Crisp's, which say that that was the best time of their lives, because it was so thrilling, because there was always the danger, especially if you were in public toilets, of being arrested. Relatively few gay men were arrested because everybody knew how much they could get away with. Sometimes they were fooled by so-called pretty policemen. But otherwise, again, especially during those war years, I think men especially do. Let's remember that lesbianism has never been illegal in most countries, but especially in this one. Men had such fun, and they looked back on that era, pre-decriminalisation, with great fondness. To some extent, they still do. Isn't that extraordinary?
We've got a question right at the front.
What filmmaking advice would you give your younger self?
Well, I have been lucky in that I've done exactly what I wanted throughout my life. So I would just say to myself, don't worry, you're going to get everything you want. It's going to take a while, but hang on in there. What I'd say to young people today, and I do give them advice if it's required, is, well, never say no to an invitation to a party, because you never know who you're going to meet. It's pointless staying at home thinking, if only I could get into the business. You've got to get out there. Well, in a sense, like I did, and mix and mingle. It's, not easy, but it's all going to be worth it. Trust me. If this is what you want, go out and get it.
Just a quick one on that, a kind of similar question. Were there ever any things that happened to you in your film life that, I wouldn't say regret, but was there ever any opportunity where if you look back at it, you thought, actually, if I'd done that, maybe something else would have happened?
I've had no regrets. And you should never regret anything you've done. You should only regret the things you haven't done. And I mean, so far, there's nothing I haven't done. I mean, I intend to keep going and doing more of the same, but I, again, think I'm lucky in that I have no regrets. No, it's all gone marvellously so far. Look at me now, I'm in Romford.
And as someone who writes, screenwrites, but also is an author, do you have a preference over which of the two you prefer? Do you prefer to write books or?
No, I enjoy everything. I am, again, I have to say, very lucky in that every day is different. It's been an extraordinary career in that, I write horror and I write comedy, which is an odd combination. There's not many people who've been doing both, but it does mean that I can do all kinds of different things, and there've been all kinds of leads of this. Yes, I've written books. I've been a film critic as well. I still do a lot of broadcasting, and I've done my own chat show on YouTube. So the variation has been lovely. I've really enjoyed that.
I just love how often you crop up on Blu-rays, features. The day that I spoke to you, we watched the Wicker Man features, and obviously you feature there quite heavily.
There's a Wicker Man documentary coming out as well called Children of the Wicker Man, directed by Robin Hardy's son, and I'm going to see that on Friday. I'm really looking forward to that because I've been involved with the Wicker Man one way or the other since it came out. I reviewed it. I think I was one of only 3 critics who reviewed the Wicker Man because it wasn't shown to the press, and now it's its 50th anniversary this year.
Do you like the fact that, a lot of films are made and they're forgotten? Pete Walker's box set is just around the corner, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
And it seems to me that, particularly of your horror era, sort of about every 20 years, there is a strike back, and now we're going to have a brand new audience that are going to enjoy both Pete Walker's work and your work. Does that, a silly question really, but, how does that make you feel, knowing that, we're going to have a brand new audience again that are now going to stumble upon all that, your work, that probably a lot of people would have thought years ago was done and dusted and in the past?
Well, things have changed because of the distribution system. And so when my films first came out, so we're going back to the 1970s, they would, one or two of them played in the West End, and they would then play around the country in various cinemas, and then they would disappear forever. And with my films, there was no chance of them ever being seen again because they weren't even going to be shown on television. And we just accepted that. So I assumed, well, that's the way it is. So it was a huge surprise to me, obviously, when the films first came out on video and then DVD and then Blu-ray. And they're probably going to turn up on the next, whatever the next physical system is, if there is one. And I couldn't have predicted that. I couldn't have predicted that I would still be going to events like this and talking about films I made 50 years ago.
It's magnificent, isn't it? Have we got any other questions out there? I really can't see. Are we all good?
Yes,
We're
there's no hands there. No.
Can't see anyone anymore.
No.
So there is one last thing that we have to do, and
yes.
I'm going to call upon our fantastic festival director.
That is me.
And she has something that she would like to give you.
Ooh.
Yes,
I think
as someone who has, I'd say, experienced all the changes in, I guess, the general queer history and the general film history, we would like to present you with a Lifetime Achievement Award.
Oh. Thank you so much. Well, that's delightful. I didn't know what to expect today. I mean, Spencer and I really have only exchanged a couple of emails, but it's been delightful. I mean, forgive me for repeating something I have written before, but I have said in the past that, I really ought to do something with my life. I wonder what it should be, and then, I did realise I should have retired 16 years ago, and now I've got a Lifetime Achievement Award. So it's a good example of, life happening while you're making other plans. But thank you so much. Thank you to all of you. It's been
Thank you ever so
been a
much for
pleasure.
coming. We really appreciate it. It's been an honour. Thank you very much, David.
And for me, thank you so much, and in Romford as well.
The wonderful David McGillivray.
Career highlight, I tell you. Thank you.